Contributor Chris Hahn, host of the Aggressive Progressive podcast, and News Nation political contributor Denise Gitsham, a Republican strategist and former President George W. Bush aide. Good morning to you both. Thank you. Chris, I want to begin with you. I was just talking to Sean Spicer about turning the temperature down politically. I have a new statement from President Biden on X saying, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We are neighbors, friends, coworkers, citizens, and most importantly, we are fellow Americans. We must stand together. How does the president meet this moment, especially given criticism now that the threat to democracy comments that he and others have made play into the important role we all contribute to this discourse?
I think President Biden and former President Trump need to call out members of their own parties when they are raising the temperature. I've seen some horrible things on social media from both the left and the right, and it needs to be called out. Look, I've been coming on national television for years. I've made a lot of friends on the other side of the aisle, including my friend Denise right here. We disagree vigorously on policy issues, but I hold them dear as friends. And I don't understand how we got to this place. And I know I've been thinking about my own role in it over the last couple of years and what I could have done different to help lower the temperature. I try to make a point, and I hope President Biden does as well, and President Trump does as well, of pointing out that we can disagree without being disagreeable, that we are not enemies. We are just rivals and opponents in the field of politics, as our founders wanted, right? Our founders wanted ambition to counteract ambition. They wanted people to come together and have a war of ideas, but not a war. And I think that we have to get back to that place, and I think that we can. Maybe this is a turning point where we all reflect on that and we move forward together as a nation, where we vigorously debate our ideas of how we rule this country, but we could do it civilly.
Yeah, couldn't agree more that we have to. It's incumbent on us to each, and that includes the media, reflect on what we're saying, how we're saying it, and how we frame the discussion. Denise, as the former president gets ready to rewrite his speech and address the American public at the RNC, how do you believe that he meets this moment and understands that the words that he is saying will reverberate throughout the country as we try to find our way through this?
Well, first, I just want to thank Chris for saying that so eloquently. I couldn't agree more. And as his friend from across the aisle, I really value the emphasis on self-reflection, because ultimately we get the country that we deserve, right? We get to shape the country that we want to have. And whether we have a united country that can survive in the face of so many external threats, or we have a country that's divided, as Abraham Lincoln said, a house divided cannot stand, is up to us. As for the former president, I think that there must be something, and it's never happened to me, thank goodness, but there must be something about just narrowly missing death that really puts your life and your purpose on this world into perspective. And I pray so sincerely and with all of my heart that President Trump recognizes the blessing that he's been given to have another chance at life, another chance to lead, and another chance to set the tone, reset the tone. Because this isn't, as Chris said, this isn't a Republican or Democrat issue. We need to call out, as Sean Spicer said just earlier, we do need to call out people within our own party, but really it starts with us. And what I'm seeing that's so beautiful, if this is in fact true, the reports that President Trump changing the tone of his speech, is that we have a chance to start at the very top with both President Biden and President Trump to reconsider what kind of a nation we want to live in based on how we treat each other. And that's going to determine whether this happens again and again, or we bring this to a stop.
So it's up to the political candidates, right, in the words that they choose, but the media plays a critical role. I want to get both of your reaction now to the news that MSNBC, the network, has pulled the Morning Joe show off the air this morning because of concerns that we're hearing from those at the top about inappropriate comments that could possibly be made on a program like that. Chris, let me get your thoughts to begin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand that. I've watched that show for years. I don't find it to be a wildly over-the-top show. And I think that, Joe Scarborough, a former Republican, understands the moment that we're in, I would think. I also think that free speech is something that, we should hold dear in this country. And unfortunately, sometimes free speech works people up in the wrong way. But I do think that everybody needs to have a proper understanding of the moment that we're in. And I'm curious to understand what they heard from the producers and the host of that program that made them decide that they wanted to pull them from the air today. Because it was a very interesting decision by them. I do think it's like their #1 show. So it is it is interesting to me. I don't think you pull people off the air without a real good reason for it. So we'll see what comes out on this. But it was curious to me.
Denise, did it surprise you?
You know, nothing surprises me anymore, honestly. I mean, I hear what things are said on all sorts of different cable news networks, and it makes me so happy to be on this one where, you know, we, as Chris said, we can agree without being disagreeable. I mean, that's sort of the mantra of News Nation, which is why I'm so proud to be affiliated with and a contributor for this station. And I think we need more of that. You know, I don't want to see people, and this particularly in this moment, where we need to learn how to embrace and have grace for one another, where we can stop saying, you know, I'm right and you're wrong means that I'm good and you're bad. Those are not the kind of conversations that help bring our nation together. And so I think MSNBC, you know, must be taking some extreme moves because they need to be extra cautious, particularly in the wake of, you know, it's still so raw for Americans to be seeing what's going on the screen, to see the replay of what happened. You know, we want to be extra careful, which is why the Biden campaign is pulling down their ads. Everyone's just, I think, being a little extra cautious, and I think that's wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it is important how we all meet this important moment and do so responsibly, and we are grateful for both of your voices as always. Chris Hahn, Denise Gitsham, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.